Hello everyone and welcome to this video on OSCOLA law referencing. My name's Suzanne White and I'm going to take you through how to use OSCOLA. So in this session you'll find out why you need to reference, understand when you need to include footnotes, and learn how to use and apply the OSCOLA style to create footnotes and your bibliography. So you will be reading and studying a lot of different material while you're here at Coventry University. Referencing is all about making sure that you clearly acknowledge any sources you've used for your research, or to help inform and develop your ideas for an assignment. Information might come from a whole range of sources, not just books, but also websites, law reports, legislation, articles, and so on. So referencing is a vital part of academic writing, and you'd need to reference if you took a quote from a book, if you summarized from a book or journal article, even if you changed it into your own words. If you took a statistics from a website, you must acknowledge that you've taken it from that website. And if you quote from an Act of Parliament or a judgment, or summarise an Act of Parliament or judgment, you must also acknowledge that by including a reference in your footnotes and bringing it together in a bibliography at the end of your work, which we will cover in a moment. Here is a list of some of the main reasons we reference. You can probably think of some extra reasons too. So referencing supports your arguments with evidence and examples. It separates your ideas from the ideas of others, gives others credit and recognition for their work, and demonstrates the quality of resources you've used and your own knowledge of the subject. Correct referencing helps us avoid accusations of plagiarism. Plagiarism is sometimes done deliberately, but often plagiarism comes about through poor referencing, either failing to understand when you need to provide a reference or providing a reference that is inaccurate or incomplete. Either way, it is something to be avoided and can result in reduced grades for work or having to resubmit assignments. So plagiarism is the act of using other people's words, images, whether published or unpublished, as if they were your own. So here on the screen you'll see 3 examples of when somebody could be accused of plagiarism. They could have failed to make it clear when they were quoting. They could have given inaccurate information about a source, and they might not have indicated what source was used. So a referencing style is there to help us by specifying which details about a source we should use and which we can ignore. This makes our lives easier because we don't have to try and decide for ourselves which details are needed. The referencing style also gives us clear guidance on what order details should appear in and how they should be formatted. By following the style guidelines, we make it easy for a reader to find a source we have used, and our document looks neat and professional. OSCOLA stands for the Oxford University Standard for Citation of Legal Authorities. This helps ensure that you include all the key information and don't miss anything. It also makes it much easier for anybody reading your work to check your references and find any of the sources you have used for themselves. Referencing is made up of 2 parts. Footnotes, which reference the work used in the body of your writing, and you include footnotes at the bottom of each page of your assignment, and a bibliography, which brings together your footnotes at the end of your work. So you must reference whenever you quote, paraphrase, summarise, include information from cases and legislation. There is an exception to this, and that's when you include the full reference to the source in the body of your essay, and we're going to look at that in a moment. So let's look at what footnotes look like. Here I've got a piece of text with footnotes at the bottom. You'll notice that the first sentence there does not have a footnote at the end of it. The reason being is we've included the full reference to the Act of Parliament in the sentence. Therefore, we don't need to include a footnote. However, in the second sentence, IP argues that we have got a footnote at the end of that sentence. And you'll see that it's inserted after a punctuation, in this case a full stop. And it's normal to insert your footnote after the punctuation or in the logical place in the sentence if you are including a number of references in the same sentence. So I've included a footnote at the end of the second sentence that begins IP. The reason is your reader would not be able to find the source of your information from just the word IP. IP is the author. If you look at the bottom of the page here at my full footnote, I've got a reference to a journal article, and I've taken the format of that reference from the OSCOLA guide, and we're going to be looking at the OSCOLA guide later on. This is the format used for a journal reference. We've got the author's name first, second name second. We've got the title of the article in single inverted commas. We've got the year of the journal publication in round brackets there. We've got the volume number of the journal and then the title of the journal and the first page that the journal starts on. If we wanted to pinpoint a page, we'd place a comma after the 3 and indicate the page that was relevant. You'll see our third sentence here, which starts a case that looked carefully at this provision. You'll see that I've included the party names in italics, and they should be presented in italics in your assignment. If I hadn't included the party names in my assignment, I would have needed to include them in my footnote here. You will see that I've included the neutral citation and the law report citation here. Both should be included for a UK case. Now I'm going to go to the OSCOLA guide to look at how I've formatted these references, these footnotes. You will see on the front page of Locate, the library catalogue, that at the bottom of the page there's a link to referencing. If you select that, you can get through to the OSCOLA referencing guide. Do remember to choose the right guide. We're looking at OSCOLA for law referencing. Here's the OSCOLA LibGuide, and there are a number of things on this page that will help you reference. You'll find examples of frequently referenced sources under the Frequently Referenced Items tab. Here we are. If we go back to the main page, you'll see there's a link to Oxford University's official guides. And from the main page, you'll find under Help and Guidance that you can book onto an OSCOLA workshop, book an appointment with me or email me. You'll find the link to FAQs and the official guides on the right hand side. On the left, you'll find a link to Steve Foster's book with an excellent chapter on referencing and an example essay provided to us by Steve too. You'll see there's also a tutorial provided by Cardiff University where you can test yourself on referencing. So the two sources of information that we looked at a moment ago were journal articles in our footnote and also a UK case. And we can find out how to reference those under the frequently referenced item tab. And there we can see a link for journal articles and also cases here at the top. Looking at journal articles first, you'll see on the guide it tells you how to footnote a journal article. So it should be author first, title of article in single inverted commas, year normally in round brackets, a volume number, title of the journal, and then first page of the journal article. So here we've got actually an example of a footnote, and there's an example of a footnote with a page pinpointed at the end. That pinpoint indicates that we've summarised or taken information from a particular page. If we move on now to cases with a neutral citation, if the case has a neutral citation, you will need to present the footnote in the format of case name, neutral citation, and report citation. So here's an example. We've got our party names in italics, the neutral citation, and then the law report citation. And if we want to pinpoint a page from a law report, we can do so. Here's how to footnote if you've given the case name in the essay. And that's what we actually did in the example we looked at. If I wanted to look up information that wasn't included on this slip guide, I would need to use the full OSCOLA referencing guide here. You can see the link to it on the right. And it's the full OSCOLA guide that I'd need to look at. So at the beginning of the guide, you'll see that there's a contents page. And you'll find lots of useful information there on citing legal sources. There are general notes on what to do, and I really do recommend that you read from pages 1 to 13 and also go on and read the rest of the guide too and make notes. It's really important that you do use this guide. You can actually search it. So if I've got a question, I can use Control F if I'm on a PC or Command F if I'm on a Mac, which I am actually on today, and I could search for a word if I needed to. So I've just typed in the word IBID and it will take me through to the parts of the guide that discuss how to use IBID. I can see that it's taken me through to the section on subsequent citations, cross-references and Latin gadgets. I wanted to go on and find out what I should do if a publication or website has no date associated with it. I can search for no date and it will take me through to the right section and tell me what I should do. Moving back to the contents page, you'll notice section 1 is the general notes. Section 2 covers primary sources, that's cases and legislation. And section 3 covers secondary sources, that's books, journals and websites. Each section will show you what you should be doing in your footnotes. Let's return now to the presentation. So the second part of referencing is your bibliography. A bibliography is a list of references you have used, and you should include your references at the end of your assignment. Bibliographies have sections. The first section will be the primary sources, the law that you've used in your assignment. The second section is secondary sources, which are books, journals and websites that you have used. Within each section, sources should be in alphabetical order. A bibliography should match the footnotes, except you should exclude any pinpointing of pages or paragraphs. Exclude the final full stop, which is normally included at the end of a footnote. Party names should not be italicised. And for secondary sources, that's books and journals, the surname and first name is swapped so that the surname is first and you use initials instead of the first name. So your bibliography brings together your footnotes in one place, and here's an example of what a bibliography might look like. So at the end of your assignment, you'd have a title of bibliography, primary sources, and then cases, acts of parliament, statutory instruments, treaties, law that you have referred to in your assignment. They keep the same format as the references in your assignment, but you would take out any pinpointing to pages or sections that you've used from an Act of Parliament. And cases would be in normal type, not in italics in your bibliography. For secondary sources, books and journal articles, for example, or websites, they would take exactly the same format, except where there's a personal author, an author's name, you would swap the first name with the surname, so the surname comes first, and you would abbreviate the first name to an initial. Again, you would take out any pinpointing or full stops at the end of the actual reference. So if we return to the OSCOLA LibGuide, you'll notice, for example, for cases, there's an example there of how to footnote, but also what the reference should look like in the bibliography. In the same with books, what your footnote should look like, and then what the reference should look like in your bibliography. Within each section, you should organise your sources alphabetically. So cases should be organised by the first meaningful party name. Same with statutory instruments, they should be organised alphabetically within that section. Same with Acts of Parliament. And with secondary sources, they should be organised within each section alphabetically by author's name, author's surname. So here's an example of the difference between a footnote and bibliographic reference. So in a footnote, we've got the author's name in full, and we've pinpointed a page 15 that we've taken information from, and there's a full stop at the end here. In the bibliography, I've swapped the author's first and surname, I've abbreviated the first name to a P, I've taken out the pinpointing of a page, and I've taken out the final full stop there. So that's an introduction to the OSCOLA referencing system, why we need to reference, understand when to footnote, and learn how to use and apply the OSCOLA referencing style. There are more videos covering more examples of correct OSCOLA footnoting, and also there'll be a video on how to live reference an essay.